Welcome back to the deep dive. Our job is to take these complex foundational works, strip away all the noise, and really deliver the insights you need to navigate the world.
Hmm.
And today we are deep diving into one of the most polarizing and influential books on finance ever written, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Our mission today is, well, it's simple, but it's also really profound. It's to understand the fundamental difference in financial mindsets.
And not just between the rich and the poor.
Exactly. The really crucial part is between the rich and the educated middle class.
I think the power of this book, especially for you, the learner, it really hinges on this one central, powerful narrative conflict.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki had this unique advantage of having two fathers, two highly influential but financially opposite fathers guiding him.
On one side, you have his poor dad.
Yeah.
This was his biological father, highly educated, a PhD, a prominent government leader. I mean, he was the epitome of the secure professional.
Right. And his advice was what we all hear, right?
Yeah, totally. Study hard, get good grades, and get a safe job with great benefits, a guaranteed pension,
Yeah.
the whole package.
And then on the other side, you have Rich Dad. This was his friend's father, an entrepreneur, a high school dropout, who believed in absolute financial self-reliance.
His philosophy was the complete opposite. It
Yeah.
wasn't about the safe job. It was learn how money works so you can make it work for you.
And that's the central insight of the whole book, isn't it?
It is. Both men valued education immensely, but they valued fundamentally different types of education.
Right.
Kiyosaki realized pretty early on that the subject of money, it's taught at home.
Yeah.
It's taught through practice and your worldview, not in the school system.
And that explains this conundrum you see everywhere. Why these really smart, highly educated professionals, doctors, lawyers, accountants, can still struggle financially their entire lives.
They mastered scholastic skills, they mastered professional skills, but the financial rules of the game, that's still a total mystery.
It's like they're playing a game without knowing the rules.
Precisely. And Rich Dad didn't just lecture. He taught through experience, starting with what he called lesson number 1.
The poor and middle class work for money.
The rich have money work for them.
And the way he taught this was just brilliant. It starts with Kiyosaki and his friend working for, 10 cents an hour in Rich Dad's store?
Yeah, 10 cents an hour. And when they started to feel that grind of low wages and they complained, Rich Dad pulled this classic switch.
He offers them a raise first, right? To get them excited?
Yep, gives them that a little jolt of excitement and then just as quickly takes it away. He tells them to keep working, but this time for nothing. Zero.
For 3 weeks, I can't even imagine the frustration.
Oh, most people would just quit on the spot.
Yeah.
But Rich Dad was forcing them to confront their emotional reactions to money.
The fear of not earning, the desire for that bigger paycheck.
Exactly. He wanted them to use their heads to find solutions without just relying on a salary.
It was basically a test of their willpower and their creativity.
And it worked. The solution they came up with, melting down old lead toothpaste tubes and making plaster molds to sell, that was their first taste of making money work for them. It was never about the lead.
It was about the mindset shift. If you choose to work for money, you're accepting being a slave to the paycheck.
Which brings us right into the engine room of financial misery, what Kiyosaki calls the rat race.
He argues that the main cause of financial struggle isn't actually low income.
No, not at all. It's fear and ignorance, and they're fueled by these really powerful emotions. The fear of not paying your bills, the fear of losing your job, starting over.
Those fears keep people stuck, right? Just running harder on the treadmill, hoping a bigger paycheck will finally make that fear go away.
But it never does. The paycheck never really soothes the fear because desire and greed kick in at the same time.
Oh, yeah. You get a raise, and suddenly the urge for a nicer car or a bigger house just takes over.
Right. And Kiyosaki says that the key to success is learning to use those powerful emotions, fear and desire to think, instead of just letting them control you.
That intellectual control is what lets you grasp the foundation of wealth. Rule number 1.
You must know the difference between an asset and a liability. And you must buy assets. He says that's the only rule you really need to know.
Okay, let's nail these definitions down. Because they are so simple, but they are just fundamentally misunderstood by almost everyone.
An asset puts money in your pocket, whether you're working or not. Think cash flow in.
And a liability.
A liability takes money out of your pocket. Think cash flow out. It's that simple. The rich acquire assets. The poor only have expenses.
But the middle class, this is where the trap is.
That's the trap.
Yeah.
The middle class acquire liabilities that they have been conditioned to think are assets.
And the number one most devastating example of that middle class trap is the family home.
Exactly. For most people, their home is their biggest investment. But Kiyosaki argues, look, if you have a mortgage, property taxes, insurance, maintenance costs,
All things that are taking money out of your pocket every single month.
then it is functionally a liability.
That's a staggering thought. I mean, culturally, we are taught that the home is the cornerstone of building wealth.
We are, and that's what fuels the rat race. This philosophy that as soon as you get a pay raise, you automatically go buy a bigger, more expensive house. That's the foundation of our debt-ridden society.
You take on bigger monthly liabilities and you get hit with a huge opportunity cost.
A massive one. All that capital is tied up in something that's costing you money instead of being invested in actual income-producing assets.
If you visualize the cash flow, the middle-class pattern is just a loop.
That's a perfect loop. Money comes in from the job, and it flows right back out to expenses like taxes and food, and to liabilities like the mortgage and car loans.
And as your income rises, so do the expenses and liabilities. You're just running faster to stay in the exact same place.
It's the cycle of working harder just to pay more taxes and service more debt.
So if that cash flow diagram shows us how we're trapped working for money, how do the rich legally escape that burden?
That brings us straight to Rich Dad's lesson number 3. Mind your own business.
Which doesn't mean quit your job tomorrow.
No, not at all. It means you have to recognize that financial struggle comes from working your whole life just to make someone else's asset column bigger. Your main priority has to be building your own asset column.
Things like real estate, stocks, intellectual property, royalties.
Exactly. And this focus on the asset column is where the great structural advantage of the wealthy comes into play, the power of the corporation.
Kiyosaki gives this incredible little history lesson on taxation here.
He does. He reminds us that when the permanent income tax was introduced in the U.S. in 1913, it was sold to the public with the simple Robin Hood theory.
Tax the rich to help everyone else.
Right. But what happened was government spending grew and grew, and those taxes quickly trickled down. They ended up hitting the educated upper income middle class the hardest.
They became the revenue source that pays for the poor.
Pretty much. But the true capitalists, the genuinely rich, they use their financial intelligence to find a legal escape hatch, the corporation.
And what's so fascinating is his definition of a corporation. It's not some huge factory.
No, it's just a file folder full of legal documents.
Yeah.
It's a legal body designed specifically to protect wealth. And it works like a loophole for 2 big reasons.
Okay, let's break that down because this is where the system gets really structural.
First, the corporate income tax rate is generally lower than the individual rate. But the big difference is the cash flow structure. A normal employee earns money, gets taxed on that income immediately.
And then you spend what's left over.
That's the model. Earning, then taxing, then spending. A corporation flips that on its head.
How so?
A corporation earns revenue, then it spends everything it legally can on things like company cars, insurance, business meetings in Hawaii, and then it's taxed only on what's left over.
So it's earning, then spending with pre-tax dollars, and then taxing.
You got it. The rich use their corporation to buy assets and pay for expenses with money that has never been taxed. The average employee has to use post-tax dollars for all the same things.
I mean, it sounds fundamentally unfair, but Kiyosaki's point isn't to complain. He's just reporting on the rules of the game.
Exactly. He's saying you need to understand the rule book. And that knowledge gap is why Rich Dad insisted on developing a high financial IQ.
It's not about being academically smart.
No, it's about how many of these 4 technical skills you can bring together.
So what are the 4 pillars of financial intelligence?
First is accounting or financial literacy, the left brain skill, reading numbers, balance sheets, seeing strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
Second is investing. That's the right brain creative side, the science of money making money.
Third,
Understanding markets and law. This is about navigating regulations, tax codes, and structuring deals.
then finally,
Sales and marketing. The ability to communicate, negotiate, and sell your assets or ideas.
traditional education pushes you to specialize, right? Be the best at one thing.
It does. But Rich Dad encouraged being competent in a little bit of everything, especially those 4 areas, which ties into his next lesson. Work to learn, not for money.
That's such a radical concept for our job-focused world.
It is. And Kiyosaki gives this perfect example from his own life. He took a high-paying job with Standard Oil, but then he quit to join the Marine Corps
Why?
to learn leadership and discipline, skills he felt he was missing.
And then later, he took that job at Xerox, a job I'm guessing he didn't strictly need for the money.
No, he didn't need it. He took that sales job for 4 years, specifically to overcome his shyness and to master that fourth pillar, sales and marketing.
He saw the income as just a bonus. The real payment was the skill.
He knew those soft skills were priceless, no matter what asset he decided to pursue down the road.
That's incredible resilience, and he drove this point home with an anecdote about a talented writer he met.
Oh yeah, she had a master's in English, brilliant writer, but she was struggling to make a living. And Kiyosaki suggested she learn sales and marketing.
And she was offended.
Deeply offended. She said she was a professional, an artist, and she hated salespeople.
And his response was the perfect mic drop moment, wasn't it?
It was. He just looked at her and said, "The sign on my book says best-selling author, not best writing author."
Ouch.
The lesson is that having the best product or the best skill is often irrelevant if you can't communicate its value and sell it to the market. It's the synergy of skills that multiplies your income.
Now, this journey to building assets is, of course, full of difficulty. And Kiyosaki says the biggest internal obstacle is overcoming cynicism.
He calls it the Chicken Little syndrome.
The sky is falling.
Exactly. Doubt and fear are paralyzing. When the market dips, the average person hears all that noise, as Peter Lynch called it, and they run away.
But the savvy investor knows that the worst of times can be the best time for real opportunities.
Cynics criticize, winners analyze. They don't get hung up on, "I don't want to fix toilets" when they think about real estate. They focus on the freedom that the cash flow from that property provides.
And that ties into perseverance. The Colonel Sanders story is just amazing.
Isn't it? He loses his business. He's living on Social Security at age 66. And he gets turned down 1,009 times before someone finally buys his chicken recipe.
That's just a staggering measure of commitment. Failure isn't a sign to stop.
No, it's inspiration to try the next 1,009 times until you win.
That kind of courage requires some serious internal management. Specifically, the tough habit of self-discipline, paying yourself first.
And this is where the two dads were just polar opposites.
Poor Dad paid everyone else first.
Always. He paid the government in taxes, he paid the banks his bills, and then he paid himself if there was anything left over, which there usually wasn't.
But Rich Dad paid himself first. He built his asset column immediately.
He did.
But wait, if he paid himself first, wouldn't that leave him short for his bills? Isn't that, financially irresponsible?
So that's the entire point.
Yeah.
Rich Dad argued that financial pressure is a motivator. If he paid himself first, and the government or creditors came calling, that pressure didn't make him dip into his savings. It forced his financial genius to find new ways to make money right now.
So he used the pressure to inspire action, not panic.
Exactly. And that discipline, that refusal to cave and touch the asset column, is what unlocked his ability to see money not as a thing, but as an idea that can be invented.
And he showed Kiyosaki how this works with an amazing example about a friend saving for college tuition.
Yeah, this story perfectly demonstrates the synergy of all four skills.
Okay, so let's walk through it. His friend had, what, $7,000 saved?
Just $7,000 sitting in a low-return mutual fund. Kiyosaki suggested they use that money as earnest money to buy a distressed house in Phoenix.
They bought it for $79,000 using a non-qualifying loan. So, using market awareness and law, they structured a deal with very little money down.
Right, and the accounting. After the mortgage and all expenses, the house generated $125 a month in positive cash flow.
So it was an asset from day one, putting money in their pocket.
Immediately. 3 years later, the market had turned, and they sold it for $156,000. A huge capital gain.
And here's where the advanced legal knowledge kicks in. They didn't pay immediate capital gains tax on that huge profit.
No, they used a Section 1031 tax-deferred exchange. It's a part of the tax code that lets you sell one investment property and roll the entire gain into another like-kind property. You defer the taxes basically indefinitely.
In simple terms, they just swapped one paper asset for another and kept all the profit working for them.
They took that capital, almost $80,000, and moved it into a partnership for a mini storage facility in Texas.
And that facility.
It started generating nearly $1,000 a month in cash flow, more than enough to cover all the college tuition.
So that whole journey, from $7,000 in a mutual fund to $1,000 a month in cash flow in just 4 years, that illustrates the entire Rich Dad philosophy.
It's everything. It wasn't about being rich to start. It was about being flexible, applying legal, accounting, and investment knowledge to find creative solutions.
And I think that's the final takeaway. Intelligence solves problems. Money without financial intelligence is gone pretty quickly.
Kiyosaki's journey wasn't about being the smartest or even working the hardest. It was about choosing to play a different game.
Well, 90% of the Western world finds comfort in that dogma of working for money. The safety, the benefits, the alternative path is there.
It just requires you to make that daily, conscious choice to be financially free.
Mm.
The profound difference between the two fathers is that poor dad measured success in job stability. Rich dad measured success in assets acquired.
So here's the thought we want to leave you with: the learner. Kiyosaki's inspiration came from the book Think and Grow Rich, and that title is a reminder. Money is only an idea. Great opportunities are not seen with your physical eyes, they're seen with your mind. If you want to change what's in your hands, you have to first change what's in your head. Will you choose to play it safe, or will you develop the courage and the vision to analyze failure, to use pressure as motivation, and to persevere against the odds, just like the founders of great empires and businesses who simply refuse to take no for an answer?